Hi, my name is Kunkle. The debate assignment my group was given was for redistribution of wealth. In this presentation, I will present you certain facts which should convince you to be in favor of redistribution of wealth because it is the right thing to do for our country. What is distribution of wealth? According to the Law Dictionary, redistribution of wealth is a fundamental principle of most modern economies whereby a nation's wealth is channeled from those who have more to those below a certain income level through taxes that pay for welfare. According to Andrea Strata, Director of News and Media Relations for the University of California in Santa Barbara, economic redistribution has been a political dispute for centuries. Why spread the wealth? While fairness seems a natural reason why people would support it, researchers at University of Santa Barbara found that fairness does not explain who supports redistribution or why. The research team conducted a study which included three motives: compassion, self-interest, and envy. What they found was that compassion was the only motivating factor which supported helping the less fortunate. Self-interest may limit the reach of one's compassion and enhance one's appetite for what others have. Envy and the spite it generates are socially destructive. Compassion, which leads people to help others, is the only motive that would lead people to favor government-mandated redistribution. Can redistribution of wealth also be good for growth? John Ostrey, Deputy Director, Research Department, International Monetary Fund, stated at the World Economic Forum that a key objection to redistributive policies is that they damage economic efficiency. But the damage on average appears to be small unless the redistribution is extreme. Ostrey maintains that macroeconomic data is inconsistent with the opinion that greater equality is bad for the economy. Improving equality actually helps to sustain growth and support other policies and self-help. This allows the less fortunate to obtain a better education, have better access to health and proper nutrition. Several advanced countries have successfully kept net, post-tax, and transfer inequality at relatively low levels. The new inequality, the rich and the rest of us. John Kavanaugh, Director of Washington-based Institute for Policy Studies, and Chuck Collins, who directs the Institute's programs on inequality and the common good, stated in an article in The Nation that over the past 3 decades, market-worshiping politicians and their corporate backers have engineered the most colossal redistribution of wealth in modern world history. A redistribution from the bottom up, from working people to a tiny global elite. John C. Weicker, who was the former Assistant of Federal Housing Commission at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, stated in his book, The Distribution of Wealth, that the most visible indicator of wealth inequality in America is actually the Forbes magazine's list of the nation's 400 richest. Inequality is skyrocketing even within the Forbes 400 list. The net worth of the richest has soared from $2 billion in 1982 to $81 billion in 2016. Mike Kunkle, contributor to The Nation and a fellow at Roosevelt Institute, and Bryce Covert, also a contributor to The Nation and op-ed writer at New York Times, stated the real solution to wealth inequality is not necessarily what both Democrats and Republicans would like to see happen. Both parties want to solve the economic insecurity by giving people more purchasing power or helping people to set up savings accounts. Most lower income groups cannot afford to set up savings accounts and certainly do not need more purchasing power, which would put them further in debt. For example, if Social Security was replaced with a private savings account, individuals may have more wealth but less actual security. Kevin Hassett, an American economist and chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, states that for decades America has been victim to an anti-tax sentiment that has led to tax cuts that favor wealth, not work. In 2008, the U.S. had a top statutory income tax rate of 35%. Social Security does not raise the rate because it goes to zero for incomes that are over $102,000. Providing social wealth directly to public programs like universal health care and free education would provide needed relief to lower income groups as well as opportunities for higher education. In 1997, George Soros, billionaire and international philanthropist, stated that while attempts at redistribution interfere with the efficiency of the market, it makes no sense to not attempt to define a solution. Wealth accumulates in the hands of its owner, and if there is not a mechanism for redistribution, the inequalities can become intolerable. Even in 1935, George W. Norris, who at the time was the United States Senator from Nebraska, discussed the distribution of wealth through an inheritance tax, which is the least burdensome of any tax that has been developed by the mind of man. Why not consider inheritance taxes for distribution? In addition to creating revenue, they motivate the wealth to donate to non-profit and other organizations of civil society. Inheritance taxes provide wealth to public ends. Our group is for the redistribution of wealth, not to be confused with income. Over the past quarter of a century, only Americans' most affluent families have added to their net worth. The 21st century has not been kind to an average American family. The net worth of most U.S. households fell between 2000 and 2011. New redistribution laws for inheritance taxes, better distribution of contributions made to private charities, new tax tables for those under a certain income level, more incentives for better education, and a simple means of obtaining health insurance are all viable options to assist in shrinking the inequality. We believe we've provided you with enough statistics and details to convince you to agree with redistribution of wealth. Attempts have been made by politicians in some of these categories, but we believe more efforts are needed to shorten the gap of inequality.